Welcome to A Cleaner Plate. I'm Sabine St. Pierre, personal chef and owner of Sabine's Cuisine Personal Chef Services. And my co-host today is Bethany Gary. She's a personal trainer from Pure Performance. So some people have noticed that there was a little tweak in the name. Before we were calling it the Clean Plate.
Yes.
And as things have kind of gotten up and rolling, I decided that it's really more about moderation, not deprivation. And the clean plate implies that it's just got to always be clean.
Right.
So a cleaner plate implies that I eat clean 85, 90% of the week, and then you have your cheats. Obviously, if there's an intolerance or an allergen, you've got to completely cut it out. But our goal here is to show you substitutions so that you can still enjoy the same type of dish, just with a unique twist to it.
Yes.
So today, we are creating pasta alternatives because pasta is a processed food. If you're
With not a lot of nutritional value.
Exactly, doesn't really add much. They are making the higher fiber, higher protein pastas out there, but what are they doing to the pasta to make it that?
Agreed, it's still a processed food.
Right, so we're gonna focus on naturally grown pasta alternatives today. And first we're gonna make a spaghetti squash casserole. You do a lot of spaghetti squash?
I like spaghetti squash. I mean, it really takes on any flavor that you put on it, so it's really versatile and it's pretty simple to make.
This dish kind of reminds me of a baked ziti type of dish.
Exactly.
But we're gonna add some protein to it. We're gonna make our own chicken sausage, and we're gonna throw lots of vegetables in it. And what I love about this dish is you really can switch it up in any way. Like these might not be your favorite vegetables. We're doing onions, mushrooms, and spinach. But you could add, I've done broccoli before.
It's a good way to hide them in there too.
Yes, chop them small enough. Grate the zucchini.
Yes, exactly.
That's always a good way to do it. So Bethany is going to get started by chopping our vegetables and getting those in the bowl. We're not pre-cooking these vegetables.
You can just throw them in raw.
Just throw them in raw, save the
Even
step,
better.
chop them small. And then that way, it's going to be in the oven for a while. So, all right, our spaghetti squash. A lot of people have probably seen this in the supermarket and been like, what do I do with this? So what I'm going to start by doing is cutting the top off. You can go ahead and
I'm chopping.
get going. Get to work.
I'm involved in the spaghetti squash.
It's very interesting. You can do this in the microwave or in the oven. In a pinch, I'll do it in the microwave because it only takes about 6 minutes per side. But I like to put it in the oven because then I can just let it be while I'm doing everything else.
Right.
So I'm just going to run my knife through it. It's not an easy feat. There's a little bit of a workout right there. But if you put it on that flat surface, it's not rolling around on you, so it's a lot safer to do. And you just start with that tap. All right, now we've got our seeds. A lot of people bake it with the seeds and then trying to get the seeds out.
That's what I kept doing.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Well, you take half
I took half the squash.
Yeah, exactly. So what you do is we're just going to scrape these seeds out ahead of time. And then they just go right into your garbage bowl. Just like that. How are you doing with those veggies?
Good. So far, I'm not crying with onions.
I know, I always cry.
Yeah.
So this reminds me of growing up as an athlete. Remember what we used to always do?
Pasta parties.
Pasta parties before
carb
soccer
loading.
games. Yeah, carb loading. Now, many of you may not know this, but we're in the presence of an Olympian.
Thank you.
Bethany was on the Olympic bobsled team. But you
Yes.
started off as, well, we did high school sports.
We did high school sports, gymnastics, soccer.
Yeah. But then you went into hammer throwing.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun story. I went to UConn and as a track athlete, and they introduced me to hammer throwing, which we had never heard about in Massachusetts.
Right.
In high school. And by the time I graduated, I was a 2-time All-American and going to the Olympic trials in 2000, and I thought I might have a chance to go to the Olympics. So in the meantime, I was training for that and working as an athletic trainer for a physical therapist who was involved in bobsledding, trying to make it to the Olympics.
Yep. I'm just going to step in 1 second just so I put these face down on the baking sheet. Pop them in for about 40, 50 minutes. All right, back to your fun story.
Okay. So he sucked me into bobsledding. And I went up in 2001 and did some sprint testing and learned how to push a bobsled on wheels, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Nice.
So
now before competitions, were you carbo loading then, or had you already kind of changed into
Well,
the mindset, like having pasta loading up on pasta the night before a competition is really not
Back
the
then,
best idea.
we didn't really think about that kind of stuff. I mean, nobody really was into avoiding gluten and that kind of thing, and we didn't really necessarily thinking about the nutritional value of pasta.
Right.
But what was great with both sports was that I had to gain weight for both sports, and so we could just eat and eat and eat.
Yeah. It's always
So
a good thing.
there was a lot of carb loading.
A lot of burning. All right, so in here we're making our own chicken sausage. I just find with store-bought chicken sausage, they always have added sugar in them,
Yeah.
or some other ingredient, because again, they're processed.
And I don't like the casing.
And you can find ones without the casing, but oftentimes they're a pork casing. So if you're trying, if you have an issue with pork or kosher, that makes it an issue. So this is really just ground chicken. I kind of feel like ground chicken is underutilized.
I never use it.
People never buy it. You always buy ground turkey.
I always buy ground turkey.
Right. So this is ground chicken.
It's not too dry. I think that's why I feel like it's going to be too dry.
No, it is hard to find a 99% ground chicken, but it's the same with ground turkey. But there's ways adding chicken broth. We're going to
The vegetables. We'll add some
moisture.
Okay.
So do you have one of these little?
I do
choppers?
actually. It wasn't until I met my husband that I started using one.
It's like the most.
Believe it or not,
amazing
he
tool.
had one.
Really?
Yeah. His mother equipped him well with kitchen
Smart woman.
utensils.
So we just use this to chop up the meat. I love using this tool if I'm doing chili, a bolognese, anything with a ground meat. So while that's going, I'm gonna toast some fennel seeds. Oh, smell that. So good. And this is really what
smells like sausage.
It smells like sausage. So I'm gonna do about a teaspoon or two in there and toast those up, and then I'll show you how we're gonna crush them up and add them in. And basically that's it. And then
pretty simple.
This is simple. And I did a pound here. This might be, if someone wants to keep this more on the veggie heavy side, you could certainly keep it lots of veggies and only do half of this meat. Or we can add all of this and have it heavier on the protein than on the veggies. But you've got spaghetti squash in there, which is a vegetable. All the vegetables.
There are a lot of vegetables.
Exactly. So
And one thing I love about this dish is that I make a huge, the biggest casserole dish that I have.
Yep.
And it could last all week for lunches or dinners.
This is a great one to double because you can freeze half, eat some for the week. So I love this one. This is a client favorite. I have clients order this.
Yeah, it's tasty.
A lot. And if I'm starting with a client, I always do this dish because I know they're going to love it.
Right.
It's a good go-to. It's like baked ziti. Like I said, it's like a pasta dish.
Right.
Some people can't even tell. They think it really is spaghetti.
Yeah.
So, all right. Those have toasted up. I'd say 5 minutes or so. You could certainly toast them in the oven if you wanted to. Do it ahead of time. Toast up a bunch.
Okay.
I'm going to use my knife to just shut this down.
Just rough chop them.
Yeah.
That seems pretty easy.
Well, you kind of want to drag. You're going to press and drag your knife on them like this. So press and drag. Just kind of breaks the shell a little bit. The toasting helps bring out the flavors a little bit more too. Yep. It's not a big deal if you put them in without toasting them, but
did you mention how much to use per pound of meat?
I'm
not sure
again,
if I
it's how much you like that fennel flavor in there.
Maybe start with less.
You can do a teaspoon per pound of meat. You could do 2 teaspoons if you wanted. I'm kind of in the in-between, so I probably did. And notice I didn't measure. I know that's an issue. So I'm going to just stick it right in here with our meat. I'm going to get this chopped up a little bit more. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like sausage.
It does. It
there's
smells
2
really
ingredients in here. That's it.
It's perfect.
Chicken and fennel. Whoops, we lost a little guy
So
there.
now for the parsley, I know we were going to add parsley in here. Do you tend to pick every leaf off and chop it, or do you do?
No.
Okay.
That's a lot of work.
I'm never sure if the stem's okay or not. To me, I feel like it's going to taste the same as the leaf.
It tastes the same.
Okay.
So I usually just kind of rip off or chop off, the top half. A good chunk, I love fresh parsley. And we're using a tomato puree in this, not a tomato sauce. You certainly could use a jarred sauce. If you have a favorite, if your kids love a particular brand, tomato sauce or pizza sauce would be fine in this. But I like to go with the least processed possible.
And then you can season it to your taste.
Exactly. So I love parsley, but some people might like
I put basil in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You certainly could do oregano. What else? thyme, anything
Yeah.
really. But I try to stick with the flavors of a sauce, like
Yep.
a pasta sauce. All right, so our chicken sausage is done.
Veggies are chopped.
Veggies are chopped. Why don't we get that mixed? And I pour about half of the tomato puree in there.
Into this.
And stir it up, and let's get like a pinch of salt and a little bit of pepper in there.
Okay.
I don't love a lot of sauce, so I start on the lesser side. But
Okay.
if you like a lot of sauce, then go all in. Okay, I'm gonna take our spaghetti squash out. So it's probably been in here, I'd say 40, 50 minutes, depending on the size of your spaghetti squash. And they are hot when they first come out, so you would definitely want to let them cool. Let me get my fork over here. All right. So this is the cool part. I'm actually going to use my oven mitt here.
This is the cool part. I think spaghetti squash is the coolest thing.
It's really the cool. We grew a ton of it in our garden this summer.
I remember.
Yeah, we were giving it away. We had so much. I mean, you can only eat so much spaghetti squash. So why don't you go ahead and add, I don't know, at least
Some
half of this. I
sausage.
mean, I love I mean, you could use a prepared chicken sausage in here. I've also done this with shredded chicken. Like if you do a rotisserie, you know, or grilled chicken's good. You could do ground beef, anything. Any kind
This
of a
would probably
protein.
be good if you had something left over in your fridge.
Yep.
Some kind of a
Yeah.
meat left over.
And it could be vegetarian. You don't even
that's
need
true.
to throw anything in there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is basically take a fork and scrape out the strands. And I cooked it on parchment. I didn't even use any oil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you don't have to use any oil. So I'm just gonna scrape out the strands. So cool. And because there's no seeds in it, I didn't lose anything.
Right. I really don't know why I never thought to do that. Before I cooked it, I always
I know.
doing it after.
I don't think you're the only one.
But
so I
with
wouldn't
butternut
know that.
squash, I would do it before.
True. Right. I guess if you think about
Didn't
it.
dawn
that
on
way.
me to do it.
That's right. I won't hold it against you.
Thank you.
Because you're not the only one. I've had people ask me questions. You know, how do I do with all the seeds? Get them out before.
Yeah,
All right. So let's go ahead and put that
definitely
here.
Okay.
We'll scrape these in. And then again,
And you can go pretty far down.
yes, you can scrape it pretty much
Yeah.
down to the skin there. Awesome. All right. So we haven't. We're going to be adding egg to this, and you could certainly make this without the egg.
I was gonna say, do you really need the egg, or
You don't need the egg. I mean, it is kind of why we're going to call it a casserole, because we are going to put it in the oven and bake it. But if you're, you know, vegan and aren't doing eggs, or you have an allergy, you could leave
Just
them
do it
out.
without.
But for those people that have gone dairy-free or decided to cut dairy out of their diets, this is one of those things when you think of baked ziti, what you load it on top with cheese. So I think by adding the egg, it gives that idea, that illusion that there's cheese in there, so you don't miss it. You certainly could sprinkle some on top. Again, we're a cleaner plate. It's all about moderation.
Right.
So
gotta have some good stuff in
you
there?
can have some good stuff in there. You can put some cheese in there, but I'm telling you, because you put the egg in there, you won't miss it. Now, what I like to do at this point, before I add the egg, once I get this all mixed in here,
Oh, right.
we're gonna taste it, because
This is important.
once you put the egg in there, you can't taste it. And before we bake it, you certainly could add salt and pepper after it's come out as you're eating it, but I like to season things as we go. You've already added some, so we'll check. And the tomato puree was no salt added.
Oh, okay. So there wasn't
Anytime
any in
you
there.
can buy something with no salt added, because they add salt to everything. So I'm just gonna put a little on my fork here. I'll put a little there. It's good. I do
Definitely a little
another
more salt.
Yeah, another pinch of salt. Let me get our dish here.
I like a lot of salt.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and add the egg. Let's get this all stirred up. And then it's gonna go right in the casserole dish. I greased it up a little bit. Thank you. And we're gonna bake this at 400.
You're good with sauce?
I'm good with sauce. But if you,
I would add more.
you could certainly add more. We can add a little more.
We'll add a little more.
Or if you love sauce, you could add a lot more. There's actually not that much left in there. Let's go ahead. Might as well.
I'll
right.
take this one home.
Okay. This one can be yours. I'm not opposed to it. I don't know. I like all the other flavors to come through. All right, so this is gonna go in for about 45 minutes or so at 400. And that was a medium size, small to medium size spaghetti squash, I'd say, but look at how much it makes.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But this will feed the family and for dinner, plus some lunches. So if you wanna throw that in the oven for me.
I actually recently just made this. A girlfriend of mine had a baby, and I made a huge, I think it lasted them all week. It was like the perfect casserole for that.
Well, and if you're not sure someone has an issue and you're bringing them a gift like that of food.
I did text her to ask her.
No, that's smart.
If there was anything she did or didn't want.
these days.
You do.
All right, so we're gonna get cleaned up and we're gonna let that cook, and then we're going to come back and make zucchini pasta alfredo.
I can't wait for this one.
I know.
I haven't had an alfredo sauce and I don't remember when.
Right, and we're cleaning it up, of course.
Yes.
But we're still gonna use dairy, so we'll talk about that when we get back. But for now, I hope you enjoy our little fitness segment coming up by ours truly, Bethany, and we'll see you when we get back.
Welcome to our fitness segment. I'm Bethany Gary, personal trainer at Pure Performance Training in Needham, and we have personal chef Sabine as our athletic participant today.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be covering some foundation building exercises for your core and for your glutes.
Awesome.
They're an important piece in any exercise program so that you don't end up down the road with any aches, pains, or injuries.
I have a lot of back issues, so core is
And
huge
you're
for me.
recently embarking on a new fitness program after starting your own business.
I am.
And having 2 kids.
Yep.
So she's a perfect candidate for this. So it's like when you build a house. If you have the concrete, you have to pour, you have to wait for it to dry. It's not that exciting, but without it, at some point, your house is going to crumble and fall down.
So you're telling me this is going to be boring?
Yes.
That's
Pretty
okay.
much.
I can do
So
it.
these aren't the most exciting exercises, but they're really, really important, especially when you're first starting out. Are any of you out there those people who have tried to start in a fitness program, you have aches, pains, or injuries that sideline you time and time again,
Oh, I
or
hear
maybe
it all the time.
you're someone who's not worked out ever in your life, and you want to get started and you don't know where to start.
Okay.
This is, I think, the perfect
best
place
part.
to start.
Okay.
So let's start first with some core work.
All right.
Okay. You're going to start on your back.
Oh, my
and the nice thing about these exercises is you need no equipment. You essentially just need
good.
some floor space. We're going to use a yoga block today for her head, but you could essentially use a pillow. It's
Okay.
the same kind of thing.
Or
Okay.
my dog.
You comfortable? Or your
Yes.
dog if she'll sit still.
Yeah, no, actually, this is comfortable.
Correct. So the cueing on these exercises is important. You can make these super easy and not really work the muscles that we're trying to work, so it's important to listen to my cues.
Okay.
And just do everything that I tell you to do.
Oh, jeez.
Okay? All right, so the first position we're gonna get into, the knees and feet are gonna come up. We call this tabletop position.
Okay.
Okay? Make sure your knees stay stacked over your hips. They shouldn't be tucked up over your stomach or your chest.
Okay.
That's the first important cue. Okay? From here, to engage our core, I'm going to ask you to lift your tailbone or your bum just a little bit off the floor up towards the ceiling. Do you feel your core?
I did.
I could see it.
My six pack.
Yes, it's in there. So you're going to get into that position, you're going to hold it
For how long?
the whole exercise.
Oh my gosh, I'm already shaking.
So for some people, this may be all that you do, and you may just do sets where you hold for 5 to 10 seconds to make sure you feel your core engaged.
Okay, I feel
It's
it.
not going to burn like when you do crunches or sit-ups, which are not a great core exercise because it bends and flexes your spine. So this is a nice stable place to keep your spine nice and straight, especially you have back problems.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we've got our core engaged here. Now let's say she's doing a great job. So we're gonna go to the next advanced
Oh,
part of the
geez,
exercise.
okay.
So what she's gonna do while maintaining this position is she's gonna lower this leg from her hip, dropping that heel towards the floor.
Like that?
Yes,
And back up?
and then back up, okay? You're gonna repeat that 5 to 10 times. But what you wanna see is if you lose that position in keeping that tailbone up off the floor,
Okay.
or you don't feel your core engage as that heel lowers, only go halfway.
Like
And
that?
there's a good modification,
Okay.
okay? So this is our first basic one. You'll start with 5 to 10 reps on one leg. If you need to, you can rest in between sides. It should be hard. I want you to
Yeah.
like lift that.
There was a little shaking involved.
Yeah, shaking is good. That's okay. So you want to make sure those hips are up high enough
Okay.
So you can feel that core working the entire time for every single rep. And don't be afraid as it starts to get too tiring and you lose the positioning, just stop. There's no sense in going through the exercise.
Well, because then
without your core.
I'm gonna hurt my back
Correct.
if I do it wrong.
If you feel it in your back, go back to that very first one where you're just trying to hold and lift the hips.
Just this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
If this
That's
hurts
easy.
your back, you can take a towel, roll it, and slip it underneath that lower part to leave a little bit of that curve there if flattening out the back hurts.
I also remember back in the day, I used to put my hands under a little bit. Could
We're
I
not
do
going to
that?
let you cheat and put your hands under. That's cheating.
Okay.
Okay. So the next one we're going to do, so that's a good core one to start. So now let's move on to a glute exercise.
Okay, am I taking this out?
Oh, we don't need that.
Okay.
Okay. You're going to lie all the way flat on your side. So keeping that same tabletop position, you're going to roll over onto your side. Good. Same idea, we want to make sure the hips stay stacked on top of each other and our feet. So now what I'm going to have you do is you're going to shift this knee forward just a little bit. Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Holding that, again, the entire time, you're going to try to lift that knee up as far as you can without shifting back and rolling into your back.
Okay.
That's what I don't want. This is for glute, okay? So hips stay stacked, feet stay stacked, a little bit of shift forward, and then you're going to lift that knee up and down. You can do anywhere from sets of 10 to 20 till you feel, do you feel it working in here?
I do.
Perfect. Till you feel it working in that hip. If you need to make this more advanced and you don't have, say, a little band you can put around the knees, you can take this hand, place it here, and put a little bit of pressure down into that knee as you lift.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I feel that.
And don't be afraid to be hard on yourself. Make that
Feel the
glute work.
burn.
Make the glute work. Okay?
Okay.
So you're gonna do probably up anywhere from a set of 10 to 20 of that exercise.
So I do that on one side and then flip and
Then
do
you
it
can
on the
flip
other.
and do it on the other side.
Okay.
You want to make sure you do enough reps that that glute gets fatigued, okay? Versus the core one where after it starts to get too fatigued, you need to stop and rest, okay? Now our last one for core, so we've worked the front of our core and we've worked our glute. We're going to do a side plank because we want to work our obliques.
Okay.
That's important to maintain that total stability in your core. I like to do top foot forward on this
Oh,
so that both legs have to push into the ground.
I've always done it stacked.
I know. It's a little bit more challenging balance-wise, so this is also a good modification, but I also like that this foot has to press into the ground to work so we get a little bit of inner thigh.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
So next she's gonna go
Bring it
up,
on.
she's gonna lift the hips up.
What do I do with this hand?
You can use it on the ground if you need to.
Okay. Could I put it here if I
You
need
can,
to?
once you're up, if it's too easy, go ahead, you can stay
Okay.
up. Then the hand can stay here. I want you to think about squeezing your bum together.
Got it.
Okay, so holding that position, and then she's gonna think about driving that elbow into the ground and a little bit pulling underneath her.
There's shaking involved.
Yes, we have more shaking. Do you feel that working there?
I do.
Perfect, okay. This same idea for core work. I would start with a 10-second hold depending on how strong or weak your core is, okay. Make sure you're in a nice straight line through here. Hold anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds.
Okay.
Do one side, and then you can switch and do the other. If you need a modification on this, it's too hard on your shoulder. A lot of people have shoulder pain on this one.
Yep.
Or if the core is just not strong enough and you can't hold for at least 10 seconds, then we're gonna bend both knees. Okay? From here, you're gonna keep your knees on the floor. You're gonna lift your hips up and then push them forward till you're in a straight line.
Like that?
Yes.
Oh.
Perfect. And so this is a nice modification to do if you're unable to do the one with the legs out straight and the feet forward in front of the other.
I've never done that one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Nice.
But I think that you're okay to start with the,
I know.
with the first one. So again, these aren't the most exciting exercises.
But they'll prevent injuries is like the
Yes.
biggest thing, right?
Especially, someone like Sabine who's got some back issues, she's had some knee issues in the past. Your core and your glutes are a great foundation to prevent even shoulder problems, knee problems, hip problems, back problems. It's all connected, and if you have a weak link somewhere, then the whole system could fall apart.
Makes sense.
So this is a good basic foundation program to start with, whether you're embarking on a new exercise program or trying to get back into one, even if you don't have any aches, pains, or injuries.
Yep.
But it's a great way to get started, a good way to keep everything healthy so that you can go long-term with your fitness program and be successful.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna work on our zucchini pasta, alfredo. Sometimes you just crave that creamy, yummy,
Yeah.
but alfredo sauces can be really thick. I mean, it's heavy cream and Parmesan cheese.
And seriously calorie dense.
oh, yeah. And not good calories.
No, like too excessive.
Yeah. Plus, then you're putting it on pasta, which we've already agreed is not the best nutritionally valued. Right. And there's just healthier alternatives like zucchini pasta. So this is kind of the big craze now is
the spiralizer.
Zoodling everything. So we're gonna make noodles out of zucchini. You can make noodles out of almost anything now.
True.
This is my favorite little machine. I'm not a huge gadget person. I like certain things.
This is a good gadget.
It's a good one, and I especially don't love when they take up counter space, but this one is worth it. So she's gonna go ahead and cut the ends off of each zucchini and place it in the spiralizer.
Right. Oh, I should clear some space for my spiralization.
And then what I always do once I go through and spiralize one, I take my knife and just run it through, because the noodles really are like this long. It's crazy. So I'm gonna work on, while she does that, I'm gonna work on our Alfredo sauce. So we're gonna lighten it up by using a lot of chicken stock. So I'm gonna go ahead and put our butter in. I am using butter. So this is where we're going cleaner. We're not going 100%.
Yeah.
We're gonna use dairy. We're making a roux, which is butter, typically butter and flour. So I am gonna keep it gluten-free by using brown rice flour.
Yeah.
Because since we're eliminating pasta, we might as well eliminate all gluten. But this is going to have some dairy in it. I've got just a little bit of butter. That's about 2 tablespoons.
Well, and I think you're better off using like a really healthy grass-fed butter.
Yes.
Than, some margarine or some of those alternatives where who knows what's in it.
Right. And it does add a little bit of that creaminess that we're going to be taking out of by not using heavy cream. You got to have garlic. I think we talked about this last time. You need to have garlic. But garlic burns very quickly.
You have a heavy hand.
I do. I went light on this, though. I just went 1 clove because it really does shine through because it's a lighter sauce. So just until I start to smell it and it becomes fragrant, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds I want to give it. Then I'm going to add in my brown rice flour. You want the heat kind of on a lower heat. You don't want to burn this. So it kind of gets to, if you want to check out my roux, we're kind of in I think of wet sand.
Oh yeah, that's a good analogy.
Look. So I'm just gonna let that cook out a little bit. If you were doing this with regular flour, you can still smell kind of a floury aroma. So you just wanna cook it out till you don't get that smell anymore. But here with the brown rice flour, you don't really get that, but I'm still gonna cook it for, another minute or 2. Then I'm going to take some chicken broth. You want to add room temperature. You don't want it to be cold because that's where you tend to get the lumps.
Oh, okay.
That's where people always make the mistake of making gravy. You don't want to add a cold liquid, and my milk's been sitting out a little bit too, so we don't have too many lumps.
So room temperature.
So room temperature, right out of the box, is fine. Okay. If you make your own homemade chicken stock, that's awesome. That's really the best way to go.
I like to try to do that.
But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming. So there's a lot of great boxed stocks out there, but I say go unsalted or low sodium because, again, you can control that. So I'm adding in, I did 2 tablespoons of butter, which you could substitute in olive oil if you wanted to keep this dairy free. I'm going to go ahead and put in some chicken broth, and I did 2 tablespoons of brown rice flour, so equal amounts. And I'm going to whisk this in. I'm not going to add all of it because if I just want to adjust the thickness. If it's too thick, I can always add more. I
was going to say, how do you know how much to add?
Right. I'm going to post my recipe on my Facebook page for Sabine's Cuisine, and I'll have a link to my blog where you can go and print the recipe. So it'll all be there. All right, I'm going to let this cook out a little bit and thicken.
I have one more zucchini. Awesome. I have one more to go.
So I will do, if you're going to take this machine out and do a couple zucchini, you might as well triple it.
Right.
And then I put whatever I'm going to use in the recipe that I'm currently working on, and then the rest goes in a Ziploc bag, raw, and you just store it in your fridge. And
how long do you think it'll stay in the fridge for?
A good 4 or 5 days.
Oh, so the week.
Yep. And that way you can throw it into soups, stews.
Right, you could just make an easy meat sauce and throw it over that midweek if you're looking for a dinner.
Yeah, anything you would traditionally put pasta with. Yeah. So this would be a better carbo loading. It's not a carb, but it's a better way to load up before pre-competition, right?
Yes, definitely. I think, with what we know with pasta and how there really is not that much nutritional value in it.
Right. Why
why
load
not?
up on
Right.
more
Why
competition?
not use this, or, you could do this, and if you needed to for a lunch, add a sweet potato if you really need to get
Right.
more carbs in there.
Yep.
But I don't think
Healthy carbs,
I don't think
nutritional carbs.
right. I don't think the pasta is necessarily your best bet for sure.
And I think the spaghetti squash casserole we have going too would be a great
Absolutely.
pre-competition alternative. Awesome. All right, so this is going to continue to thicken up.
Okay. I'm spiralized.
And so you're spiralized. We're putting shredded chicken into this. You can certainly sear a chicken breast or chicken cutlets and add it in, but I just find, first of all, bone-in, skin-on chicken, roasted, tends to keep a lot more moisture than a chicken breast, which really dries out.
That's true. Well, and even I buy boneless, skinless thighs sometimes.
Yeah.
And you really do have to be careful to find the right balance of actually cooking them all the way through without drying them
Right,
out
and people
totally.
tend to kill it because they're so concerned
Yes.
about, which I'd rather kill it than not.
Well, right.
But the shredded chicken, I find, not only is it cheaper and roasts better, it stays more moist, but the shredded chicken absorbs a lot more of the sauce. Whereas
Oh,
a
yeah, I
seared
didn't
piece
even
of
think
chicken
about
doesn't
that.
really absorb the sauce. It just kind of coats
that's a
it a
good
little
point.
bit. All right, so now I'm going to add it. This is cooked out a little bit, and it's thickening nicely. We're not going super thick. Remember, we're lightening up, we're cleaning up our traditional. So now I'm going to add a half a cup of milk. Yes, I said milk. If you are going dairy-free, like I said, the butter, you could use olive oil, and for this, you could use a coconut milk. You're going to
yeah,
have a
that'd
little
have
bit
an
of
interesting
that
flavor.
coconut flavor. You could do almond milk or soy.
Yeah.
Or if it's a lactose issue, you could use a lactose-free
Right.
milk.
And I do think, there's a lot of debate now between using whole milk versus skim milk. And I think it goes back to that processed. Whole milk is the least processed of all of them.
Right.
And a little bit of fat in your diet is okay. You need fat to burn fat. Right. And fat is what makes you feel satisfied and makes you feel full. And so many people are cutting fat out, then they're overeating fruits and things like that,
Right.
which aren't great for you either in terms of the
Too
sugar.
many of the sugar. And it's natural sugar, but again, it's
Right.
all about moderation.
Right.
It's still sugar.
Exactly.
So this now, what we're going to do, we are going to add some Parmesan cheese, but instead of a cup and a half of Parmesan cheese or 2 cups, we're only adding about 1/4 of a cup here.
Okay.
You certainly could go in and add a teeny bit more if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Wait till you try this. I'm telling you,
I'm
you're
really
not,
curious.
You're not going to miss it. Besides, I've also done this where I've added the chicken and done broccoli and rice, brown rice to it, or
That
quinoa.
sounds good too.
So good. Fresh parsley.
Gotta have it.
Gotta have it.
It's like the garlic.
It's exactly. And for this, I'm going to actually add some fresh peas.
that's
I
a good
like the
idea.
pop. It gives it a little bit of texture.
Yep.
If you can't
some nice
find,
color.
it does. If you can't find fresh peas, frozen peas work perfect. Sometimes those are actually a little bit easier to work with.
Yeah.
And they're easy to store. You just kind of always have them in your freezer. But any vegetable, broccoli would work well with this. All right, so this is pretty much it. I'm going to season it up with a little salt. And Parmesan cheese is salty. So
Oh, right.
you gotta consider that.
I don't always think of that.
And then pepper. I like a lot of pepper. Love it. A little more. All right. So, all I'm going to do, our chicken is already cooked.
Yep.
And our zucchini pasta is not. I don't like to cook it ahead. I like to cook it in the sauce.
Oh, that's a good
So
idea.
I'm just going to throw
I was
it.
thinking we would need another pan. And
No,
then
I am all about the least amount of pans possible. Especially if I have to do the dishes after. I don't want to do
it's
them.
not like you do the dishes.
Yeah, but still, I'll save Tom some dishes. All right, and then I'm going to take our chicken.
Okay.
Nice
Let's
job.
start with that.
All right. So, just going to, we're going all in. We're going all in, people.
A little extra protein never hurt.
I like to go protein heavy. I'm all about the protein. And protein is a great fuel.
Right.
If you're, a lot of people
Absolutely.
are exercising and burning those calories, so you want to feed the muscles. Doesn't that look so
Yeah.
good? All right.
I mean, it's certainly not as creamy looking,
Right.
like you said, as thick as a regular Alfredo sauce. But at the end of the day, the taste really is more.
It's really about the taste, and you're looking for that creamy texture to it. And you're still going to get it. It's still coating it. And you certainly could add a little less stock or milk to it to get it a little thicker. But I think we're ready to taste, which is the best part. So if you want to go ahead and get the casserole out.
I'll clear this out of the way.
I'll grab the casserole, actually. And then up here are our plates.
Smells delicious.
Nice and bubbly. So for this, you're really just looking for it to be set and for the top to be golden, which is what we've got here. Clear some of this stuff out of the way. All right. Put those out.
Piping hot.
Yeah, that one we might have to give a second. A little toasting
Nothing worse than a burnt tongue.
No, here, actually, why don't you use this one and spoon us up some of that.
Which, this one?
Yeah. And I'll spoon us up some of this one.
Cannot wait to try this. It really does smell good.
I'm just going to give us a little bit. We're just tasting.
Yes.
We'll devour the rest later.
This is my dinner tonight. Are you kidding?
I know. And zucchini pasta does not take long to cook at all.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't in there for very long.
No. So, all right.
Okay.
I'm going in zucchini pasta first.
Okay.
with a
Might as
little
well do
piece
the
of
same
chicken.
thing first.
See? You don't miss it. It's a nice light creamy sauce. Doesn't weigh it down. And then we've got our, I'm scared to taste the spaghetti squash. It's really piping hot, but I'm going in.
That is pretty good. It definitely has the flavor of an Alfredo.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
I told you.
Okay.
Gotta
I'm
trust.
sold. I'm sold.
Gotta trust. All right. And then the spaghetti squash casserole, I mean, I think I've had that 1,000 times. I just love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good go-to recipe.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you have some good takeaways. We learned a few tips to incorporate into our fitness regimen.
Yes, definitely. So if you take anything away from that, if you can do those exercises before you do your workout or on an off day.
How many
in the
times a
beginning,
week?
In the beginning, if you're rehabbing from an injury or you haven't exercised in a really long time, if not ever, I would do them every day. You
Okay.
can't overdo those exercises.
Okay.
So it's a good way to just build a good foundation, do them every day for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you can just kind of do a maintenance level each time you work out. Just spend a couple of minutes doing them before you work out. Get those muscles going.
Good. All right. Well, join us next time where we will be cleaning up some more recipes, some of your favorites, and in your quest for a cleaner plate.